Does OSHA require overhead crane operators to be trained?
OSHA and ASME both require that an overhead crane operator be trained.
So OSHA and ASME require overhead crane operators to be trained. But does trained mean they need to be certified? If you own a crane, what training is required? What are your legal responsibilities? In this video, we'll clear up the confusion around training requirements so you know how to get your team trained properly for compliance and their own safety.
Hi, my name is JT Farley. I work in Mazzella's training department. If someone just got their overhead crane installed, training is necessary. OSHA and ASME does have a requirement in their standards of showing classroom time, written exam, practical exam. Now the employer can deem that whatever they want it to be. Long as they're signing off and saying that this person is designated, they're taking full responsibility. Designated means that the employer has deemed the employee competent to operate an overhead crane. A lot of times when I'm on a call, they say I want my crane operator certified. OSHA and ASME says that the crane operator must be trained, not necessarily certified. So that's not a requirement for OSHA or ASME in order for them to have a designated crane operator. I'm in the shops often when I'm doing the training, and one thing you'll hear the employee says, they just handed me the pendant, up, down, don't hit anything. Is that considered a proper training? Not at all. Is it safe? Not at all. They need a full training class. They need someone who understands the compliance and standards and someone who knows the safety of the equipment that they're using. Training and documentation for the employer in ASME B30 standard in regards to the written and practical exams. What that looks like is this. You're going to spend 4 hours in class, and then you're going to have an exam after that. That's going to be your written exam. After that, you're going to go out to the shop and you will have an obstacle course using the crane, and your instructor will make sure that you can perfectly perform the task at hand and then score that with a practical exam. We're going to do a report card for the employees. We're going to send that back to their EHS manager. We're going to also keep those records so that if OSHA ever needs them, we have that for them. A good question that's always asked is my training a one and done? What I've noticed in the field is most employers go along with the NCCCO standard, which is every 2 years, either a refresher course or an actual full-blown training. They would use that more as a guide because with the NCCCO, it's every 2 years for recertification, and most employers just go that route as far as having their people trained. Now with a company like Mazzella, we are a one-stop shop. We will manufacture the crane, we will install the crane, and we will train you on using an overhead crane. If the crane is already installed, and if it's not even a Mazzella crane, we do offer training for those as well. If you're only the crane operator, overhead crane training is all that you need. However, in today's field, we do multiple jobs, right? And it is a good practice for the crane operator to understand rigging as well, because there is times where he's probably going to put slings on a hook. So the recommendation would be basic rigging and inspections training would also accompany overhead crane operations training. A part of our overhead crane training, signal person is a part of that. If you are going to be an overhead crane operator, signal person training is something you would also need. It was also required by both OSHA and ASME. ASME requires that you have a visual inspection of rigging gear that you're going to use. Our basic rigging and inspections training program teaches you how to select and inspect the proper rigging for your lift. We not only show you how to do a visual inspection on it, we show you how to feel down the body of the sling as well as make sure that it's 100% safe. OSHA and ASME have their regulations and their standards. However, certain states, they may have other restrictions or other things that they want trained. And depending on if we're training in that state, we will gather those requirements and make sure that they're part of our program. It's the employer's duty to understand the regulations or standards of their state. And if we don't have them on file, we'll make sure that we get them and share that as part of our curriculum. For an employer, I know they like to do training because they know it's a legal requirement. Besides the legality, we want to stress the safety portion of it. The biggest thing is we want our employees to go home the same way they came in. And the more they know about lifting and rigging right, the more safe that they're going to be, the more compliant they're going to be, the less fines and penalties that the employer will see. Tribal knowledge from the field is not always right. One of the most rewarding things for me is when you have that 20, 30-year employee come up, shake your hand after class and say, I learned something here today. You really showed me some things that I didn't know. I didn't know about it wasn't right to turn back screw pin, shackle pin. I've been taught that all my life. But when I showed them that both OSHA, ASME, as well as the manufacturer frowns upon that practice, it's a light bulb moment for them. For an employer that's watching this and looking for a simple way to put together a training program for their team, I would recommend them use someone like Mazzella, who has gone through OSHA, ASME compliance, who has the expertise, who has the workbooks and the journeyman's riggers cards, as well as all the safety compliance to keep their people safe.
Now you know what OSHA and ASME really require to train your overhead crane operators and riggers, the difference between trained and certified, and why proper training keeps your people safe. At the end of the day, it's about making sure your employees go home the same way they came in. So don't try to piece your program together on your own. Let Mazzella's training experts handle it. Reach out through the link below to schedule your overhead crane operator training and rigging training. We'll make sure your team is compliant and safe. If you found this video useful, informative, entertaining, or you just feel like being friendly, hit that like button so we can get this information out to everyone who needs it. Subscribe so you never miss a video. Remember, safe rigging is smart rigging. My name is Ben. Stay safe out there.